So the Romans, they are starting from the east, and there is no way to take Masada. They move to the north, no way. And then they understood what they need to do. They go west of Masada. Why? Because if I want to build a road to reach the top of Masada, if you look at me for a second, if this is Masada, the east is here, look at me, but the west is here. You understand?
Yeah.
So if I want to build a road so I can drive on top of it or push the Roman war machine, the only way to do it is on the west. But it took Roman the time to figure what to do. And then when they moved to the west, they start to build the ramp. People, this was unbelievable job.
Bathing in Roman style. Beyond the human need for cleanliness, the bathhouse also had a social function. Bathing and the associated physical activities were an important element in Roman social and cultural life, to which Herod aspired. This was where the king and his guests met, bathed and exercised. The sophisticated bathing arrangements, which are reminiscent of a dry sauna in our days, the vivid wall paintings and the colourful stone floors demonstrate the opulence, the high standard of living, and the importance that Herod assigned to the bathhouses in his palaces. Bathing took place in the rooms inside the building, and the bathers exercised in the courtyard, which was surrounded by a roofed colonnade. In the period of the revolt, the bathhouse was adapted to the rulings relating to bathing and purity in Jewish law. We find evidence of this in the two ritual bath mikvahs and the bench built from drums of the dismantled columns of the courtyard. The discovery location of the lots. Here, several hundred inscribed pottery shards, ostraka, were found. Outstanding among them was a group consisting of names and nicknames, including the name Ben Yair. The most distinguished of Masada's excavators connected this group with Josephus Flavius' story of the drawing of lots on the last night of the revolt. The northern palace is without a doubt the architectural pearl of Masada, and one of the most daring structures built by King Herod anywhere in the country. This isolated palace was uniquely built on 3 terraces, with enormous retaining walls and connected by an external staircase. From the palace balcony and its windows, the king could enjoy the spectacular landscape of the Dead Sea, the mountains of Moab, and the oasis of En-Gedi. The fortified palace included sleeping quarters, a balcony, library, rooms, reception, and banquet halls, as well as a private bathhouse. The palace walls were adorned with frescoes and its floors with mosaics. Its plan incorporating influences from both the Hellenistic and the Roman worlds. The upper terrace. The sleeping and guest quarters of the northern palace show great similarity to a palace in Rome attributed to a close associate of Emperor Augustus, Marcus Agrippa, who is known to have been Herod's patron. The king's sleeping quarters were built around a central roofed chamber which, via a small ornamental guardian, a viridarium, led to a balcony surrounded by 2 rows of columns. It is easy to imagine the king sitting on the balcony with its primordial view and enjoying the afternoon shade and breeze.
Over there, you could see a mosaic floor, and in that mosaic floor you see just the geometry shapes of a paint.
The solution of the water problem in the desert fortress is undoubtedly one of the wonders of Masada. In order to survive on the mountain, Herod quarried numerous cisterns on the summit and the northwestern slope. Rainwater that flowed in the floods in the nearby streams was stored here. The water was collected by a system of dams and 2 aqueducts, part of which can be seen to this day. 2 rows of cisterns were dug in the slope, 8 in the upper row and 4 in the lower, that contained a total of 40,000 cubic meters of water. From the cisterns, 2 paths led up to the mountain, one from the upper row to the water gate in the northwest of the mountain, and the other from the lower row to the snake path gate in the east. Convoys of animals brought the water up to Masada along these paths. When they reached the summit, the water was poured into a system of channels leading into the cisterns throughout the mountain. But a lover of life like Herod would not be content merely with drinking water. The water planning of Masada also included attention to hygiene and recreation, as we can see from the bathhouses and the swimming pool located in the southern part of the mountain. The synagogue. The rebels' way of life on Masada required a building suitable for community meetings and Torah readings. This building, which became a synagogue during the revolt, was built in Herod's time, most likely as a stable. The rebels changed its eternal structure and even closed off a small room in the corner of the hall, which apparently served for storage of Torah scrolls, and as a geniza, that's a repository for damaged scrolls. Under its floor were found fragments of biblical scrolls, including the vision of dry bones in the book of Ezekiel. The synagogue at Masada is one of the very few discovered so far that date from the Second Temple period. The casement of the scrolls. A large and rare concentration of finds from the time of the revolt was found in a corner of the room of the wall in which we stand. Inscribed sheets of papyrus, fragments of scrolls, silver shekel coins, textiles, sandals and glass vessels and bone implements. Among the finds was the pay record of a Roman cavalryman in the 10th Legion. The most interesting finds were the scroll fragments, some of which show that during the siege there were members of different sects on the mountain. The finds were gathered here by Roman soldiers collecting booty after the fall of Masada. On the floor of the room were found ballista bulls and rolling stones, which came from the roof of the casement and the nearby tower.
שיעלו מלמטה, אחד עולה אחד יורד.
תודה רבה על ביקורכם בגן הלאומי מצדה. אנו מקווים שנהנתם. נשמח לראותכם שוב בקרוב.
We thank you and hope you enjoyed your visit to Masada National Park. We look forward to seeing you again soon.
Is a dotted line the mutual agreement to not play bumper cars?
That's fine. Sure.
Sorry. Negative always want to do. They tell us we have to go at the same time.
Maybe a little bit.
Sometimes I think both of these trams have to go at the same time to balance it out.
אנא היזהרו מהדלתות החשמליות. אתם מוזמנים לבקר.
Hat der erzählt, kennt er.